Just want to talk about something. You got ChatGPT is coming up a lot lately. We're getting customers, sending us files from it, and we had an interesting one yesterday. So it's basically a mock-up of embroidery design. So it had almost what looked like a semi-professional setup. Like I said, design, estimated size for the left chest, locations, colors, somewhat well put together. So what was interesting is when I first looked at it, my first thought was like, you cheating bitch. You're going somewhere else and you're trying to, quote stuff out and shop around. But then my second thought was, now this looks sort of digital, ChatGPT-like, and two things stood out to me. The first thing was the embroidery was obviously a mock-up of it, digital done. Could it work? Yeah, could work on it for sure. The second part was the back had a digital design. Well, there's different types of print techniques that you can use, and digital is very difficult. So this one had a lot of gradients and fading going on in the background. So it's like, okay, this is probably only DTG that you can really do this, or you would have the screen print with, halftones. DTF would probably struggle with it. So that was my second clue where I was like, you know what, this is probably a ChatGPT thing. So I asked the customer, they said, yeah, we ChatGPT'd it and came up with this design. And we like it. We want to do it. Is it possible? So two things. This is great because now it becomes a teaching opportunity where I can basically say, hey, look, ChatGPT is great. It gives you some idea of what you can do, and there is some functionality to it. Obviously, the left chest, we can do that. That's no problem. We can also vectorize it too, and we can digital print that. The back had some print challenges, so we talked about it, and we said, hey, look, we can probably recreate this to a certain extent. The current files that it's outputting are not print capable. They're not high enough resolution. It's not the right format. It's not going to give you the best results, basically. So now we're going to the drawing board. We're vectorizing, we're digitizing, and creating this design. So the cool takeaway from this is that this customer did this on their own, which is kind of cool. They came up with an idea. They said, hey, I want shirts printed, and here's an idea I had. Let's prototype it on ChatGPT itself, right? Now that they did that, this also became basically a warm or even hot lead because they already have in their mind, hey, I like this design. I'm willing enough to reach out to the printer to potentially print this design. So now here they are, and now we're trying to make that sort of dreamscape turn into a reality within the guidelines of what can actually be printed and what's printable. So that's kind of the interesting thing about this is it's an opportunity to, one, now it's upsell. Obviously that file's worthless. It can't do anything. But if we can digitize it and we can vectorize it, we can now just turn it into a cost center. So now this customer is getting potentially what they wanted to get originally, and they're getting maybe a new fresh design that maybe we didn't come up with, or we failed to come up with for them. But now we have a warm to hot lead. So these are things you can use as a print shop that the AI now you have to adapt to it. And this is just one of the adaptions you can take. Is you can either use it for mock-up purposes or to rapidly prototype and then bring it to the customer and then turn it into a reality. So charge accordingly and don't hate on it. It's a good process. It's very interesting how it made it look like a professional mock-up to send to the printer, and maybe that's the way that they prompted. And if they did, that's great. It just ChatGPT doesn't know the whole process of what's behind it. So just keep that in mind. But absolute opportunity. So take it when you can get it, guys.